In this video, I will introduce you to ISE deployment terminologies. A node is an individual instance that runs ISE software. Cisco ISE is available as an appliance and as a virtual instance. Therefore, any device or virtual machine running ISE software is an ISE node. There are different types of ISE node. The type of ISE node an appliance or virtual instance will be determined by the type of persona running on the node. The persona of a node determines the services provided by the node. A Cisco ISE node can assume any of the following personas: administration, policy service, monitoring, and PS grid. I want you to note that the administration, policy service, and monitoring personas are core personas of an ISE deployment, while PS grid persona is optional. I will talk more about PS grid later. Since the persona of a node determines the services provided by the node, let's talk about service. A service is a specific feature that a persona provides. What characterizes a node to be called an administration node is because the node is having an administration persona and definitely will be providing administration services. For example, handling of policies and system-related configurations. What characterizes a node to be called a monitoring and troubleshooting node is because the node is having a monitoring persona and therefore is providing monitoring and troubleshooting services. A node with policy service persona is a policy service node and will provide services such as network access services, guest service, client provisioning service, etc. Now let's talk about role. Role determines if a node is standalone, primary, or secondary. This only applies to administration and monitoring nodes or personas. In a standalone deployment, a single node will be running the three core personas: administration, monitoring, and policy service. In that case, the role of the administration and monitoring personas will be standalone. In a distributed deployment, a node might be dedicated to operate as a primary administration node and therefore will have the role of primary admin, while another node dedicated to function as a secondary administration node will have the role of secondary admin. The same is applicable to monitoring node. Role is not applicable to policy service node because all policy service node in a deployment will always be active. Therefore, there is no secondary or primary. I will use the illustration on the screen to summarize this video. A persona needs a node to run on, and the persona will determine the service or services that will be provided by the node. Any hardware or virtual instance running ISE software is an ISE node. A node can take up any of the ISE personas, that is administration, monitoring, policy service, or PS grid, or even all, if it is a standalone node. Also, the persona of a node will determine the services running on the node.